Hey everyone, welcome to Long and Short. I'm Tom Hartman, Marketing Manager at TradersPost, joined by Mike Christensen, Co-founder and CSO. In this series, we'll be walking Peter Hartman, another member of our marketing team, and my twin brother, through the process of setting up an automated trading strategy from scratch. This isn't a polished course. It's a genuine behind-the-scenes journey as we explore exactly what it takes to get someone with minimal trading experience up and running confidently. So let's dive in. Peter, fresh on the heels of our last episode, today we're going to be doing indicators, strategies, and alerts. It'll be fantastic. This is where the magic comes in. You want to find out, like, how do you surface information from the markets? How do you build a strategy around it, or find strategies that exist around it, and then send that signal over to TradersPost in order to automate it? Because the weakest point in any strategy is you. I'm going to put that on the poster. That's going to be the nice poster shot. Did you have any questions, Peter, before we start about just like the overview of TradingView that we did from last week? You seemed pretty comfortable at the time, but now that you've had a few days to sit with it, how does it feel?
No, that's great. I'm really happy to understand more about how that interface works. So I got no questions there. I am actually very excited about this one here today, the meat and potatoes of what's being done here at TradesPost. So I'm guessing. So I'm going to be learning how to set up a strategy. Do I have to already have something in mind?
Uh,
MSTR test.
Not yet. We understand you're a little baby bird. We want to start you off simple. There are strategies right off the shelf that people can use, but it's more important to know what exists out there so that you know what you want to try. So we're going to start first with indicators and strategies. There's a whole community in TradingView. So let's just dive right into that, so you can take a look at what I'm referring to.
Awesome. Are you going to be pitching one of your indicators, Tom? Is this going to be self-serving?
Peter, we don't. There's no need for that. If anyone wants to find any of my indicators, I'm sure they'll be able to find it. But no. All right. So in TradingView, we took a look at the interface last time, but something that we skipped over here was the indicators, metrics, and strategies. So TradingView, in addition to providing you with the charting information, is also trying to give you tools in order to surface information from the chart that's relevant for your trading style. Whether you're a fundamental trader, whether you're a macro trader, whether you are technical analysis, there's all kinds of different ways you want to surface information from the chart. So if we click on indicators at the top of the screen, you'll get this list. And what you'll see here on my list, well, these are all my favorited ones. But if you go into the community tab, you'll be able to see all kinds of different scripts that exist here. There are top scripts, editor scripts, trending scripts. There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And even for something that you might want to do, there might be all kinds of variations for that particular one. So for example, here for the scatter plot, I can click on the read more icon on the right, and then I'll be able to see an idea of what this indicator would look like. And then underneath, there might be some details that'll explain more what use case this is for, what kind of trader this is for, that sort of thing. Obviously, there's different kinds of quality and an experience level for the developers of these indicators, but we don't have to worry so much about that to begin with. Chances are you're going to find something that if it works for you, it works for you, and the quality of it won't really matter.
Maybe one thing to distinguish here from this list, not only do they break up the community contributions by the editor picks and also the top ones, which is, of course, based on the number of likes that each indicator or strategy or metric receives, but there's also some trending ones there as well. To tell the difference, though, between an indicator and a strategy, there's actually a little icon that they put next to the strategies so that you can tell the difference between them. And that the strategies have this little, I don't know, what do you call this? A squiggly with an up down arrow.
That's right.
So those little up down arrows basically represent a little icon for the buy and sell signal, or the sell and buy signal if you're reading it from left to right here. So that little icon tells us that the object that we're about to click on is a strategy and not an indicator. Tom, you want to tell us the difference between an indicator and a strategy on TradingView?
Right. So an indicator will add drawings onto the page in such a way as to surface a piece of information. So, for example, if we go to indicator for RSI, a very common one called relative strength index, it's trying to give me information here about how the price is ebbing and flowing. So you can imagine here that when we are high above this area, this range for the RSI, it's indicating that the price has stretched and that we might be headed for a reversal. And when the value is low, that we are headed to a bottom area and that the price might increase. So this is just displaying information on the chart. Does that make sense to you, Peter?
Yeah, it does. I do have a couple of questions when you're ready.
Sure. Just one thing for the strategy, what might be different is that you might want a script that says, hey, when I am overextended, go ahead and send a signal to buy, or simulate a buy. Sorry, here would be a sell, and here simulate a buy. So I believe under the indicators tab, you'll find, if you type in RSI, you're very likely to find some sort of RSI strategy here. So this is one that's native from TradingView. So if I click on this RSI strategy, now it's going ahead and you're seeing on the chart trade signals to buy and sell. And both indicators and strategies have options where you can click on the little gear next to the name of the indicator in order to see different options for it, to change the different settings.
So is the difference between an indicator and a strategy is that an indicator will just show you information, but a strategy is about when you're going to buy and sell?
Exactly. So here, if you wanted to get a sense of the performance, like how well would I do if I had a $5,000 account and I was taking these buy and sell signals on the strategy, how well would I do? If you only had the indicator, you'd have to plot it by hand and calculate it by hand. But with a strategy backtester, it's going to give you an idea here of all the trades that were taken for this particular strategy. So I can actually go and take a look at all the different trades that exist on the chart and examine it and get a better idea of, hey, this is not only the buy and sell signals, but this is the performance I might have looking at past data.
Which is an important distinguishment between the two, because there's a lot of indicators on TradingView that have buy and sell labels on them, but they're not actual strategies. So you can't tell what their actual performance is. In some cases, you might have an indicator that also tells you like overbought and oversold zones, which you might consider those to be good places to sell or good places to buy. But without that historical performance and robustness of a historical trading strategy, it's really difficult to tell if that's going to do well in the future. So the indicators alone oftentimes can be helpful to understand a trend or understand how to measure a particular asset in an effective way. But the deeper knowledge about the history of how this strategy would actually work has to be done with the strategy itself. So what sometimes users will run into is they'll find an indicator that they really like in TradingView, but there's no accompanying version of that that's been written as a strategy. And so sometimes they have to do the custom work themselves or wait for the author of that indicator to make a strategy version of it.
Can you combine an indicator with a different strategy?
It depends. It depends what you mean by combine. Technically speaking, if you have the code for a strategy and the code for an indicator, yes, but that's beyond the scope of what we'll go over today. If you're saying you're adding it to the chart and you sort of want to link them together, there are certain strategies that are built that way, that are built in such a way that you can actually pass the indicator value to the strategy. But again, that's also beyond the scope of what we'll go over today.
It's also really rare. I've seen some like backtest adapters that will take the outputs from an indicator and use them as an input to how the strategy should behave. But I've only seen like a handful of those. The vast majority of time, you'll find an indicator you really like, and there's no strategy version of it. So you're going to end up needing to code it yourself, assuming that it's an open source indicator, which is kind of another topic here. There are two different ways to publish on TradingView. Well, a few different ways, really. There's the public way where you publish the script and the code associated with it is open source, and you can actually view that source. The second way is to make it private so people can access it, but the code itself is not available to you. And then the third way is maybe the code is open source, but you have to be invited to view the code and view the indicator itself. So what we often are always looking for, of course, are the ones that are open source, and you can tell that by whether it has the little curly brace icon next to it to show you what the internals of the script actually have available to you. Sometimes there's a lock icon next to them as well if the code isn't available. Thanks, Tom.
Would a beginner trader care about indicators?
Yes, absolutely. Because if you're just looking straight at the chart, you'll often get fooled as to if the price is going to continue going up or going down or what's happening. So, for example, over here, you might, if we're going to hit on replay and hit here, you might say to yourself, if I were to ask you, where is this price going to keep going? You might say, well, the price is probably just going to keep heading downwards, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to take a look at RSI, for example, we can see here that the price was at a higher level at the RSI and has made this downtrend all the way down over here. So the expectation for someone who's trading the RSI would say, as I get nearer the bottom over here, I increase the likelihood that the price will move up in the same way that it did over here. So having indicators that have different ways of surfacing information is absolutely crucial. This is an indicator as it pertains to price movement. There are indicators that have to do with, let's say, financial statement for a company. So over here, if I click on indicators and I go to the left under the financials tab, I could go ahead and get, let's say, the total revenue, quarterly revenue for Tesla, for example, and I might decide to buy or sell the stock depending on what the revenue is doing. There's all kinds of different financials that TradingView provides.
So what I often find myself doing when I'm constructing a strategy is I first add the indicators that are important to me so that I can see them visually on the screen together and understand the relationship between those indicators before taking all of that code and compiling it into a single strategy. Because the analysis part of this, where you're really looking to see if there's any kind of meaningful relationship between lots of different types of indicators, is an important step. And it's just nice to be able to visualize it first before you start diving into the code.
Interesting. So, indicators can kind of guide you as to what strategy might be suitable for you.
That's right, depending on your trading style. So essentially, if there's a set of indicators, you go, wait, when these guys are on the chart, I get a pretty good sense of what the price might do.
Right.
Maybe I'm 75% accurate as the price, what the price might do. And then you say, okay, I'm going to rely on these indicators in order to go ahead and trade. And someone else might say, okay, no, this is not working. I got to get different types of indicators that help me remove some false positive signals or to give me more of an advanced notice as to what's about to happen. All right. So if we take a look over here, so this is an example on this chart here. Peter, if I were to ask you how many indicators are on this chart, what would you say?
3.
3 of them, exactly. We have the EMA, we have the RSI down here, and then we have the volume down here, which is generally an indicator that TradingView will provide that comes native on the chart. The reason I want to bring up the volume one is that there's certain indicators that TradingView creates that no one else can actually create in the way that TradingView is doing it, because they're not relying, those specialty indicators are not relying on any information or any technique that we're able to get. So for example, if I wanted to make my own RSI script, I could, because I could always go into the code of this RSI script, modify it, create my own, and I could always make something like this. But if I wanted to make my own volume profile, which is another popular script, even though I could sort of simulate a volume profile, I can never actually. Let me make a different one that looks a little bit better. 1 second.
While you're making that, is a script and an indicator exactly the same thing?
I use script to mean both indicators and strategies.
They're both written.
Scripted.
Yeah, they're both written in something called PineScript, which allows you to specify whether it's an indicator or a strategy, but it can never be both.
Gotcha.
All right, that's the one I was looking at. All right, so these indicators I have on my screen here, I will hide all the other ones. These are volume profile indicators, and they're super popular. What it's doing right now, for example, is that it's tracking, it's calculating how much volume is at each one of these price levels, and giving me a sense of how much transactions happen at those price levels. And as I change my chart, this will change accordingly. Well, the performance of this and the access of the data is so much so that TradingView has provided that to us as a helpful tool, but we couldn't create that inside of PineScript. Well, not easily anyway. It'll be a lot jankier and stuff like that. So I'm just bringing that up because in addition to the community that has a bunch of indicators, TradingView has technical and financial indicators that they themselves created.
Why is it that people ask TradersPost in office hours about strategies when you can just find strategies ranked on TradingView?
Well, that's a good question, as we lead to here. So the not to sully the good name of TradingView, but the surfacing information inside of surfacing useful strategies within TradingView can be a little bit difficult. One, you have this whole Pareto distribution thing anyway, where getting your indicator in the top editor pick stuff is can be challenging. And if you were to search for a particular term, you'll see just tons of different indicators for the same term. So just because an indicator has a lot of downloads doesn't mean that it's particularly good. It just means it could mean that it's good, but it could also mean that it was just there longer, right? And so it just accumulated the views. You do get some certain sense if you were to look at the script down in the how many times it's been boosted or boosted, and what the comments are like. So we head down to the comments, you can get a sort of like a qualitative view of what people actually think about this indicator. But again, this is not by far not the full scope of everything that's available, and it certainly doesn't include any private indicators. Right? If someone's particularly proud of what they did, or they're selling it as a service, well, you're not going to find it in the store over here. So, for example, this indicator here with this red lock, even though it's published over here, if I were to try to add that to the chart, it wouldn't work because it's an invite-only script, and I actually have to be in contact with the script creator in order to grant it to me.
So that's the good one. That's the one I want. The red lock.
Exactly. Well, one of the reasons people might publish it that way, so that people see that and they go, "Hey, let me go take a look at that." But
real quick? What's metrics?
Metrics are like we saw for the financial information. So it's just like revenues, number of employees, that sort of thing. It's not an indicator that has to do with the price structure, or the volume structure, or the volatility structure that you're seeing on the chart.
Unless you have a correction on this, Tom, I don't think metrics or fundamentals or financials are available in PineScript for you to code against.
Some of them are, not everything.
Not everything. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a request.financials method, but that's for
there's a limited number of inputs. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
All right. So Peter, you were saying, how are you supposed to find good ones? Well, you get advertised them, right? So you can get TradingView strategies, and then you'll be able to find people who have different strategies. Let me just.
I think what you meant to type is sacred pro. No,
not at all. So actually, let's go to one of the popular ones is LuxAlgo. They offer an indicator suite. And so basically, it's a whole website here, and they are demonstrating their indicators, state-of-the-art trading tools, and that sort of thing. So these are indicators, and I don't know that they have a strategy. They do have indicators to help people trade. If you want something like a strategy, you can go to ChartPrime.
It's kind of strange to me that LuxAlgo doesn't have strategies. They seem so important, and everybody always asks about them.
They do have a strategy builder. It's part of their toolkit that they sell.
Oh. But their strategy builder is not pitching a particular type of strategy.
No, you still have to kind of build your own approach. And maybe a way to answer this question a little further for you, Peter, too, is that everybody tends to trade a little differently, or want the indicator or strategy to do something a little differently. The asset might be different. The time frame they trade on might be a little different. The market that they're interested in might be a little different. And all these little nuances can lead to dramatic differences in the way that their strategy and trades are expressed.
Good to know.
Also, it's far easier to sell an indicator that displays information or even trend signals than to commit to buy and sell signals that people will then commit actual live money to. So a lot of people will use indicators and they'll have their own mix, and they go, okay, I have these 5 indicators, and when these are in this sort of state, I'm going to go ahead and trade. But then the indicator creator is not committing to saying, hey, you should put money behind this idea.
Right.
Whereas when you have a pre-made strategy, well, the strategy is either good or not good, and if it's not good, people are not going to continue to subscribe to it. So there's there's a plus for it. If you have a good strategy that's high performant, it sells itself in a sense. But if you don't, well, then you're down to tubes. Whereas if you just have the indicator, you don't have to worry about that. So,
Gotcha.
all right, but we're not going to subscribe to any of these strategies, Peter. Here, okay. Just to make it very clear, we are not promoting any one of these services as good or bad or anything like that. They just exist. That's as much as we can say. But let's go ahead and take a look at a simple strategy. We'll choose one off the shelf that's provided from TradingView, and it's from a popular script called SuperTrend. So SuperTrend, if we just use the indicator version over here, what it does is that it provides. Let me remove this other. It provides trend signals. So it's essentially saying, hey, when I'm red, I'm expecting to be in a bearish trend, and when I'm green, I'm expected to be in a bullish trend. And where it switches over, do they have that here? No. So where it switches over, the idea is that this is where I might want to sell, and this is where I might want to buy, sell, etc. So there is a super trend strategy from TradersPost. Oh, sorry, TradingView. If I add that to the chart, it's attempted to do those trades at those locations. So let me just, you're seeing right now, the strategy has just shown me the trade signals. It's not actually drawn the super trend on the chart. So I'll go ahead and add the indicator so we can see, and it's happening at the locations you might expect. Okay. And it has a certain level of performance that it's providing. We'll actually go over performances in the next video. So here, the idea here is that we want to send trade signals over to TradersPost in order to either paper trade it, in order to test out the signals, or to run trade real money on these signals. So let's just go ahead to our TradersPost account, and we'll go ahead and create a strategy for this. So, Peter, when it comes to automating any strategy with TradersPost, or automating any strategy at all, what you're doing is that you are taking a signal that's coming from TradingView or whatever platform you're using to generate your signal. It could be custom code, it could be another platform like TrendSpider, what have you. And what you're doing is that, hey, I want to send a signal over that says, go ahead and buy. Normally what people do when they're not automated is that they get the signal as an alert, a notification, a push notification, and they go ahead and manually enter the trade. But in the TradersPost way, what you do is that you send that signal over to TradersPost for then us to execute.
And an alert is different than a signal.
Well, you can use them interchangeably. Essentially, we're just talking about a notification that pops up in some way, fashion, or form, and then lets me know to do something. So if I want an alert here to pop up, if everybody's just going to create an alert straight away, and I say, hey, if this is greater than 0, so we know that it's going to fire right away, let's go ahead and play a sound, notify, and show a toast notification. If it's greater than 0, let me just create this alert. So as soon as this tick happens, I'll get in my alert log, I should see it. Tesla greater than 0.
Because are you on the
Market's
regular
closed.
trading hours? Market's closed. Yeah.
Let me switch this to.
The ever-open crypto market.
That's right. It's all going to be swallowed by crypto eventually.
And at some
What are we
point,
doing, guys?
at some point, the stock market's going to be 24/7 too. So
Yeah.
it's only a matter of time.
Oh my God.
That's right. And Netscape is going to come back. Come on, Mike. It's all crypto. Greater than 0 every time. Create. Okay, so now it's active. I get an alert that appeared at the bottom left, and then it shows up in my log here as well. So that might just notify me. Go ahead, Tom. You sent an alert. You wanted to buy or sell at this location, and my alert allows me to put a bunch of information on one here.
But I can also connect this to a webhook, and then
Correct.
I can trigger a signal to TradersPost.
Exactly. So that's the idea here. If I wanted to set it off to the TradersPost application, under notification, I would choose Webhook URL. And so we have to have that set up properly on our TradersPost side. So we'll just do that quickly. I know you might have seen some of the videos that we have on Blueprint for our show on office hours, where we go through some of these different things. So you could always take a look at the TradersPost YouTube channel if you want more in-depth examples of these. You could also take a look at our documentation. But let's just do this quickly here. So in my TradersPost backend, I'll go to strategies. I'll create a new strategy. I'll call this one SuperTrend. I'll have it trade. Let's do crypto. Actually, no. Let's do stocks. All right. I'll allow it to trade any ticker. I'll save that. I want to connect it to my TradersPost paper trading account. All right, so now my strategy was created, and a subscription now has been set up over here. If you remember from other things you've seen with TradersPost, my strategy itself is set up in order to receive the signal that comes in. Then I can subscribe to it, and I want to basically that's connecting my broker to that strategy to go ahead and execute. Because if I don't subscribe to it, if I don't tie a broker to it, my strategy will receive the signal but won't be able to do anything with it. The benefit here is that I could have multiple different subscriptions for all kinds of different brokers, so I can have TradersPost manage my trades across a wide swath of my portfolio. So I have my subscription set up over here, and automatically, if I click on Webhook, my webhook has been generated. So this is the link that I need to put into TradingView so that the signal goes from TradingView to us. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that webhook URL by clicking that button, head back over here, and paste it. Now, if that's all I did, and I just had, a buy signal over here, time to buy, and I sent this off, greater than 0. Will this create anything inside my account, Peter? Will this execute a trade?
Well, you said you have to be connected to a broker. I'm not sure if this paper account counts as a broker.
Let's say it is connected to a broker.
Well, your alert has to trigger, no?
Yeah, so it'll trigger.
You chose stocks, so the market is closed, so it's not going to do anything.
It won't do anything there, exactly. And also, I did not set up my alert message so that TradersPost can understand what that trade is.
Right. Yeah, the JSON.
So, exactly. So over here, I'm just waiting for this to fire. Did you fire yet? There it goes. So it fired. And I head over to my TradersPost backend, and I go to the webhooks. I choose the one here for SuperTrend. If I take a look at the logs, it's going to say that the JSON payload is cannot be parsed because the message I sent through is by signal. That's not what I need. What I need is this signal down here, this type of thing. Right. So if I go in the documentation, you'll find all kinds of information at docs.traderspost.io under webhooks, all kinds of commands that TradersPost is ready to receive in order to actually execute that trade. Right. So I could tell it there's all kinds of information over here, all kinds of different commands that I can use. Let's just go ahead with a simple one.
But just to clarify too, like our whole objective with TradersPost is to take the intention of that trading strategy and translate it into a message that will then get executed with your broker, so that the moment those alerts fire in this environment on TradingView at the close of a bar or even in the middle of a bar, whenever that alert is supposed to fire, that event takes place, that alert takes place, and then that generates a signal to then be sent to TradersPost. And our job is to make sure that we take those instructions and execute the trade in your broker's account, not only as quickly as possible, but correctly. It should be correctly position sized. It should be the right direction. It should be holding the position for the right amount of time. So our job here is really to try to figure out how to copy the instructions from TradingView and get them into your broker properly.
Over here for our alerts. So for this SuperTrend strategy, there's different ways that a strategy can be set up so that you can send the message along. To be set in a different way, we need the message in a certain format to be sent to TradersPost. But depending on how the script has been made, you might have to do that in different ways. So for example, if I were to go into the script settings for this strategy that we just added to our chart, or SuperTrend, if I look at it, I'll notice there's no real location for me to put that message I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no settings here in order to handle that. So my default there is to think, okay, then I have to go ahead and create an alert, a regular alert, and choose under the conditions this strategy. All right. Now you'll notice all the other messages disappeared, and what I'm left with is this over here, this message body. And it's set up here with these placeholders that have curly brackets. These curly brackets, what it means is that if it's a recognized placeholder from TradingView, it will be replaced with a relevant value. Over here, what I'm seeing by default is saying that the message is, hey, SuperTrend strategy, 10-3 order. Send over the order action. So is this going to be a buy, a sell, or just close all my positions, flatten? Strategy.order.contracts is how many shares, contracts, units of this thing should I be dealing with? The ticker I'm dealing with, so in this case would be NASDAQ or whichever one I was on. And new strategy position size is strategy.position size, which is the alert will let me know this would be the size of the position at this time. Now, these are just examples of placeholders. If you click on the question mark underneath the message box, you'll be able to see at the bottom of this list a bunch of other placeholders that exist. Right? So you can get the ticker, the exchange, the values, open, high, low, close, the time of the trade, how much volume, so on and so forth, all kinds of different things. Interesting here, you can get plots. You can even get some special information from the indicator itself, some values that it shows. Maybe we'll take a look at that at some later point. But there's all kinds of ways you can customize this alert message with some of the native placeholders. So if you head over to TradersPost, you'll notice that on our webhook screen, it's given us an example of what we can have over here. So it says here, if you're using a strategy instead of an indicator, then you can use a JSON like the following, and you will only need to set up one alert per ticker. So it's this message that's in what's called JSON format. The way that it's written out here is in JSON format, where it starts with curly braces and then has every one of the settings or property names in double quotation marks, and then the value is after that. So you don't have to necessarily worry so much about deep down understanding this format. One, if you make a mistake, the system will tell you. But two, it's generally a copy and paste situation that you're in. So we're going to go ahead and replace this message that's in my alert with this JSON message. So what's going to happen here when this alert is sent? It's going to replace ticker with ticker. It's going to replace strategy.order action with the do I want to buy, sell, or flatten? And that strategy order is coming from my strategy. Let me just change the properties of this so that it can actually take a trade.
So the strategy will say buy or sell, bullish or bearish?
Correct. So remember this strategy that's set up over here? Here it's saying, I don't know if you can see this clearly, but it's saying my short entry
I can see it.
And then my long. So it knows if it needs to go -6 to go short or +6 to go long, depending on the size of these positions.
So I've seen JSON where people write in buy and sell and close.
Absolutely. So if this strategy had fields inside of it that allowed me to customize the message, whether it's buy or sell, then I could do that. But I'm showing you one of these out-of-the-box strategies from TradingView, which doesn't have that. It only has one message field
Hmm.
that I have to deal with. So if we use the placeholder over here, well, then we don't have to worry about having two separate ones. It's going to put the right message, the command in at the right time.
If I put if it's like that, it's set up default, but I put in buy or sell or whatever, does that mess up my signal?
Yes, because it'll always send buy. Let's say if you sent buy.
Oh, so
even
it
when it's
will
trying to
work, but
sell. So what
oh.
we're really doing with this payload here, we call this the strategy payload because it's a default message structure that will translate the way the TradingView simulator is trying to behave into the correct messages that need to be sent to TradersPost. You can see that the structure of this just includes some of the rules about the position size, the action that should be taken, the ticker that should be traded, and the quantity that should be traded. And all we're doing is translating those rules from the simulator to this message using these placeholders. The simulator from TradingView is called their strategy tester, but it's also working in real time with real data as the market continues to see price matches come through. So as you let this strategy run, the alerts are going to take place from the strategy, get sent to this alert that you've created. Those messages will be replaced. The placeholders inside the message will be replaced, and then that gets sent off to TradersPost. So there's a whole sequence of events that needs to take place, but all of this really relies on the fact that the TradingView strategy is really in charge of where, how your strategy should behave and how those alerts should be fired.
So we have to make sure here what we're doing when you're automating here, Peter, this whole process, that you're trying to make sure that one, that you're getting the signals at the locations that you want them to happen at, right? You're just not going to toss just any strategy on and just run anything and hope that it works. The job is on you to figure out what is the type of strategy you actually want to take care of. After that's decided, and we go ahead and create the alert, then you're making sure that this process is working. Now, working is in two parts here. Working is you want to make sure that the signal, when it fires from TradingView, actually shows up at TradersPost, and it will. If the signal fires over here, and you make sure that you have the correct webhook URLs placed there, then when this alert fires, the TradingView will handle sending the alert from TradingView to TradersPost. If there's ever any problem, you got to make sure first that this is happening, right? This is the IT, is your computer turned on, right? This is the first step over here. Is the signal actually being sent? And oftentimes it'll occur where people assume that it is set up properly, but they haven't actually checked this part carefully.
And this is largely why we always advise that you use a paper account in order to test all of this, because you want to simulate how all of these trades are going to come through from TradingView and make it to TradersPost to confirm that all of the trades are expressed properly. Did it take the correct entry? Did it take the correct exit? Did it exit at the right time? Was it the right quantity? Was my position size correct? So on and so forth. So the job of making this connection or this bridge between TradingView and TradersPost is really just around making sure that it's done correctly. We'll get to making money later. We want to make sure it's done right so that we can let this run in the background and not be overly concerned about it doing something that's wild and crazy and ends up losing us money later.
I feel like he's targeting that to me, Peter. I feel very.
No, that was very much to me.
So I just want to bring this up here. So I'm showing you the simple way of going about this, like the bare bones how it works. But generally speaking, there are far more strategies out there where you actually have the granular control. I'll just show you that really quickly. If I take a look at something from me, or we made this on one of the Blueprint episodes. If I take a look at the strategy and the input settings, we actually have fields for the buy area, for the sell area, and so on. And so here's where you would actually put the message that you'd want to send. So buy, sell, and then if I wanted something here for the stop loss, I would say, okay, just go ahead and exit this order. Exit the order. So it's a lot of copy and pasting to make sure that you're getting the commands that you need, and then you work it in order to make sure that you have the set that you're looking for. So over here on the strategy, when the script that I wrote says buy, it'll send this message, and sell this message, and for stop loss, it'll send this one, and even for take profit, I'll send this one. Now, just because these fields are here in the strategy in this input tab doesn't mean that automatically I click OK and it's set up. Right? Because what do I have to do here, Peter? I have to actually...
You have to get the webhook?
Exactly. Actually, I have to connect this strategy to TradersPost. This is something that comes up every now and then where someone will create this. All right, it's all set up. I click OK. Now I'm ready to go. But you actually have to go ahead and click on the alert button and connect this. Like just before, under conditions, I'll go ahead and choose my VWAP strategy. And now, instead of having the whole message here that appears like we saw before, I just need to send one thing. I'm going to send something called strategy dot order alert underscore message. Let me make sure that's the right one. I always forget
I think that's right.
Yeah, order. Yeah, that's what it is. Strategy dot order dot alert underscore message with the two curly braces next to each other. Now, when I do this placeholder, and we know it's a placeholder because of the curly braces, it will be replaced with the relevant message in these fields, right?
So we're doing something kind of interesting here in multiple layers. What we've done is we've defined the message payloads as inputs to the strategy so that the strategy knows what message to actually use at the time of the event, whether it's the entry or the stop loss or the exit or the sell and so on and so forth. We're then replacing all of those placeholders to create a fully created string that's a fully parsed message ready to send to TradersPost, but then creating the alert with another placeholder to then be replaced with this message that's been parsed. So there's definitely some layering here and some nuance to how all of this works. But if you're choosing to use an alert and you need to use the strategy message payload, that is our sort of default way to do this. That, of course, will work with most strategies out of the box. I like Tom's sort of custom approach here where you can define all your messages as part of the strategy settings because it's just much easier to construct the message to make sure it's sending over the instructions properly. The one thing I think is one nuance here is that the messages that you put here, I know they were only examples, but I don't think we're able to replace those strategy placeholders in a message like this, right?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to bring up. You can,
in some cases,
yeah. If you're dealing with a strategy, you mentioned, Peter, at the beginning, is this an indicator or a strategy? You're using them interchangeably. You're using the word script, blah blah blah. One of the differences for an actual strategy coded as a strategy in TradingView is that these placeholders will work in a strategy. That's why they're prefixed often with strategy dot. It's going to work in a strategy. If that's not the case, if you're not in a strategy, these placeholders will just come through as the regular placeholder. The text won't be replaced. This isn't true for this is only true for the placeholders that have the strategy dot namespace. So over here, if we go back to our alerts and we click on the question mark, some of them have there's a ticker, there's close, open. These will be replaced with the value because it's not dependent on it being a strategy. The script always knows what the close price is. The script always knows what the open price is. The script always knows what the exchange is, right? Because it's not dependent on whether it's strategy or not. Whereas these other ones, these strategy placeholders, these are responding to the simulator in TradingView that's simulating the strategy, and so it's like making trades in its simulated environment, and it knows the position that should be there at a certain time, if it should be a buyer or sell, what's happening there, keeping track of that. So if you're not dealing with a strategy, an actual strategy script, these placeholders will not work.
Right.
One other thing I wanted to show is that sometimes, even though this was a new feature that was added in, I don't know, a couple of months ago, where you can actually have a full text box here to put your information in. Oftentimes, you'll find in other places just a one-line text area, and it makes no difference. This will also send the message along. Just because the JSON payload that you put in isn't formatted this way, if this is all done in one line, it would still work. Right? So the formatting doesn't have to do with all the tabs and stuff like that. It has to do with literally the characters and what order they're in.
Although one space, I've seen this, one wrong space somewhere and the whole thing doesn't work.
Yeah, if you send ticker 2 or a space over here, it's going to break.
Right.
But
so
it's
that's
fun,
why
Peter.
having it in a big block makes it easier to see those, typos.
That's exactly why I do it that way. Exactly.
Interesting.
That's right. Plus, I was going to make a joke. It's not funny. Let's keep it to myself. Thank you very much. Peter, you'll just edit this part out.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. All right. So one of the last thing I want to mention over here is that what you're going to want to do is, as soon as you set up your strategy and you set up your alerts, you're going to be like, okay, great. Now, how do I know it's working? Right? Because you have to wait for a signal to actually be sent from TradingView or whatever platform you're dealing with before it can show up to TradersPost, before we can test out execution on a paper trading account or trade it live. So there's no way in a strategy to automatically send a test signal out on a strategy that you're using. There's no way to do that. But you can send just a test signal to make sure things are set up on the TradersPost side the way you expect by doing the alert, creating the alert like I did before, just on some condition that's always going to be true. Or in the back end of TradersPost, if we head over to the specific webhook, I can click on send request, and I actually could put in. I can actually generate an order here manually. So here I can say I'm going to buy.
Is this
Tesla
only true under paper trading, or can you also do this live?
On live account as well? Absolutely.
So if you do this test thing under live, does it actually trade?
Yes.
Oh.
Because sometimes sometimes you want to manually execute an order. I know there's circumstances where I have an automated strategy running, but then, it's a work in progress, and I go, hey, I want to actually close out this position that I was in, or I want to add something else over here, what have you. I could always send an order manually if I want to. We don't want to remove discretionary control from people. So I could actually go ahead and create an order here. Let's go ahead and buy one. I have to uncheck the test button. And then if I were to confirm this, it'll give me what the payload would be. So before I actually send it, you can even use this to build your JSON message. Right? Instead of going to the documentation and copy and paste it from everywhere, you can be like, hey, this is what I want to do. What would the JSON message be? This is it. Great. I can copy this and go and place that in my TradingView. Or here I can actually just click send. It'll send through. It was successful. I could see the executed trade at the bottom over here. And I could go view the trade at my broker. Am I actually? Oh, it hasn't executed yet. So I'm just buying this at the market. Oh, right, the market's closed. So it's not going to buy it. So I can see here that my order is pending. And
it will in the morning.
It will in the morning. That's right.
Awesome.
Excellent. All right, so I hope that's a nice little preview there. I know we didn't tell you, Peter, at the beginning which strategy you should choose. So between now and our next session, you're going to have to choose what kind of strategy you want to do.
Okay.
I do recommend that we'll show you how to take some manual trades through our system first, just so you get a sense of it. Because nothing's quite so enjoyable as pressing the button on your first buy yourself, and to have an automated bot just steal that moment from you. I'm not going to have that.
I want the automated bot to steal the moment.
No, Peter, you got to lose money, live money on a live account, just like the rest of us. Okay. And then we'll go through actually setting up an automated strategy. It's going to be fun, Mike, because as we get further on in this process, we're not just sitting here just to walk Peter through how to use TradersPost. I want you, Peter, to be a successful trader. I want you to be a trader. I want you to be a trader. I want you to do live trades. I think you and I are going to strengthen our brotherhood. It'll be great, and you'll like TradesPost that much more. That's the whole point of this.
I'm all in on that investment. So whatever we need to do to get you on board there, Peter. I think as we look forward to the next episode here, I think the main thing we're going to want to cover is really how to use the strategy tester effectively to really make sure that the approach that you're taking here is going to make sense. Because there's no sense in standing something up and automating it if it's ultimately going to lose money almost immediately. And there's a very vast library of strategies and indicators out there, but that doesn't mean that applying them to a chart automatically equals money go up. We have to do some work to validate that this strategy is going to work, that it's going to be managing risk well, that it's going to position size appropriately, and all of that can be done in TradersPost and in the indicator or strategy itself. So looking forward to that.
Well, I'll tell you, to be honest, the type of trader that I expect to be is I want to copy somebody else. I want to take some other strategy. I don't see myself sitting there figuring out the market. You say a strategy off the shelf might not work for me. What I create will not work. So I'd rather the error of somebody else than me. But what you've shown is, I heard the gentleman from, was it Trade Beacon? He talked about how it's actually simple once you see it, and it actually is very simple. You can make it more complicated with trailing stop losses and all that stuff, but the whole setup is actually simple, and that's what I like about it. I feel like, okay, I'm going to jump in and do it. So do I have to be able to figure out the market on my own, or can I be one of those backseat traders?
I think it's a fair question. And there's lots of people out there that, of course, take that path of just wanting to ride the coattails of other successful traders out there. And there's so many different ways to ride the coattails of others. Sharing in a strategy and just connecting your broker to it is a very effective way to gain access to somebody else's ideas. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate into outperformance, of course, but if you trust that individual, you feel like you understand how they're trading the markets, there is a way to, of course, share on those strategies. For the purposes of our TradingView automation series, we're excited to, of course, showcase how the process works and finding some of these ideas, some diamonds in the rough, how to refine the approach, how to create those alerts and get something automated for yourself. So you're taking a little bit different of a position when you do this. Either you're doing this for yourself, or maybe one day you want to share those ideas with others who want to ride your coattails. So I guess it depends on which seat you want to be in. As we ride through the TradingView automation series, this, of course, is dedicated to those individuals that are interested in building their own strategies and getting them automated.
I'll add one other thing to that. Peter, I know a strategy you're going to love to automate, and you're not going to need anyone else to have a thing off the shelf in order to buy it, because you are a crypto hodler, and you're going to want to. You're going to want to automate a crypto buying strategy where every time Bitcoin drops by 15%, it buys a certain amount. That you're going to love.
Yeah, no, that works for me. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that one up, Tom, because I think there's a couple of things I'm looking forward to there. One is just the simplicity of a DCA bot on a single ticker. You could set something up there that's also sort of volatility based, where it only buys when there's a certain type of drawdown. Otherwise, it chooses a regular interval to keep adding to the position. Super great idea. I love this. What TradingView apparently might be changing in the future, and I hope we can do a follow-on episode for this, is you should be able to apply your indicator to multiple symbols at the same time. So you choose a list of all the different symbols you want it to look for, and then apply the same indicator or strategy to that, and it applies it to all of them at the same time. So in theory, you could build a DCA bot that adds a small percentage to each holding, and you can basically have a basket of assets that you're trading at the same time using the same signal.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, Peter. So you're looking for Bitcoin, looking for Cardano, and you don't need anything else than that.
Yeah, just the two.
Hey, look, what's his name? Charles Hoskinson said something good about Sui. So bullish.
Bullish, right? Exactly. All right, so we'll leave it there for this time. I look forward to the next video. We're going to be going over the strategy performance, and well, one step closer to getting Peter trading his first dollar.
Let's go.
Thanks.